Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We have today a story about a woman who goes into hospital to have an operation. She previously had been a victim of an attack, an S attack, and had asked for an all-female care team, quite understandably given the circumstances. The hospital assured her that there would indeed be an all-female care team. Just prior to the operation, however, a man wearing a skirt, yes, one of them, wandered in, pretending to be a woman. The woman in question here did not like it and complained and said that she was promised an all-female care team. So what did the hospital do? Did they reassure her? Did they ensure that that man pretending to be a woman wasn't anywhere near her? No, they cancelled the operation, told her to get out and said that she was bigoted and biased. This is where we are now. You cannot even have an operation unless you accept the mental illness of others. Let's look at this article. So here we are. Exclusive. Hospital refuses to operate on S attack victim after she requests all-female care because she fears mixed-sex facilities are unsafe for women. The patient, an S assault victim, had requested all-female facilities over concerns over mixed areas, and she was stunned when someone she believed to be a transgender male opened the door during pre-op assessment. It prompted her to complain and an urgent request for all-female nursing care at the Princess Grace Hospital. The hospital then cancelled the operation, claiming it was protecting staff from discrimination and harassment. The women's rights campaigners have savaged the hospital's act, branding it a movement of misogyny in heels. Hospital said requests for single-sex care were particularly challenging, citing the diversity of colleagues. It's not challenging at all. You say, if you're a man, you keep out, and if you're a woman, you may go in. And it's simple. Oh, and if you're one of those mentally ill people who thinks he's a woman, you definitely stay out, because we don't want anyone mentally ill near our patients. But the point here is the NHS is saying that you cannot have an operation, you cannot have treatment, even though you've paid for it through your taxes, you cannot have treatment unless you indulge the fantasies of mentally ill men, or unless you adhere to a particular doctrine. This is a very dangerous line to take. What next? You're a Tory, you don't go into hospital. Oh, you're a Green, you can come in. You own a 4x4. Not you, mister. We don't agree with you owning 4x4s. Is that where they're going with this? Because that's where they've already gone with this. If you do not agree with their doctrines, you don't get an operation. This is so wrong. So anyway, a hospital banned an assault victim from having an operation after she asked for an all-female nursing care because of safety concerns over the mixed facilities. Now, we also know from past events, not fears, not theories, not things that might happen, actual events that have happened, that women in a, quote, all-female ward have actually been AR'd by those other women in that ward, the ones with penises. So she is quite right to complain, and the hospital are quite wrong to do anything other than acquiesce to her demands on this one. The patient, a feminist retired lawyer, Mail Online is calling Emma, was told by London's Princess Grace Hospital it had to protect staff from unacceptable distress. This is not unacceptable distress. Insisting on an all-female space is not unacceptable distress. It is, in fact, the law, the actual law. She had been due to have a complex colorectal surgery at the Marylebone premises on October the 10th and had filled in a pre-admission form detailing her requirements. Emma, who lives in North London, asked for single-sex accommodation and, as per her beliefs, did not wish to use pronouns or engage with such manifestations of gender ideology. Now, that is also a belief and therefore is protected and enshrined in Part 2, Section 10, Subsection 2 of the Equality Act 2010. Go check it out. Anyway, she told Mail Online, I was not going to agree to fill in reams of hospital paperwork about my non-existent gender identity or give my pronouns to anyone. The hospital is one of only a handful to use the Da Vinci robot, which can perform delicate and complex operations, and she was selected for that reason. But when she arrived on October the 6th for her clinical pre-op assessment, which involved intimate procedures, what appeared to be a transgender man in a blonde wig with makeup opened the door and made eye contact with her. The encounter, which is now being investigated by the hospital and its parent firm HCA, prompted her to complain and to make an urgent extra request for all female nursing care. Emma told the Mail Online and began to wonder if it was such a coincidence that this member of staff with a gender identity had made their presence felt to me in such an inappropriate way during my first visit. I can guarantee it was deliberate. I bet someone saw what she's put on that form, and that weird mentally ill man went deliberately there to push a f***ing agenda. I begin to suspect that I've been targeted because my patient records show that I refused to use pronouns and wanted single-sex facilities, as per the law. Although I have no evidence of this. I don't think you need evidence, love. I think you're bang on there. Then I began to panic that men would be attending into my intimate care at the hospital while I was immobilised for an entire week following surgery. It was a slow dawning realisation. I felt sick. Alarm bells were ringing in my head. I cannot describe the fear I felt. I cannot rationalise it. I can completely understand. And if you're the victim of previous assaults, the last thing you want when you're vulnerable is a man. And yet they said they give you a woman and they gave you a man. She wrote to the HCA that evening underlying her concerns and her beliefs relating to gender and women's rights. Emma cited the landmark case involving Mayor Forstater, in which said that gender-critical beliefs were protected under the Equality Act and worthy of respect. And I've quoted you the chapter and verse on that one. The email told them that she believed that self-ID by men onto women's hospital wards had resulted in attacks on patients. This is factually true. For this reason, she said that it is a fact that mixed-sex hospital facilities are unsafe for women. And she added, I do feel that the hospital should follow a protocol of offering all women patients single-sex nursing care, and that should be the law. I do not want a trans ever attempting to get close to me when I'm vulnerable or in hospital or anything like that. They can stay away. Please do not make life difficult for women when they're at the most vulnerable, she said, by forcing them into uncomfortable and embarrassing situations. I cannot believe that I'm the first patient to have raised this with you. And I bet she's not. She was stunned then to receive an email from the hospital's chief executive officer, Maxine Estop-Green, telling her the operation was off. She told her the hospital did not share her beliefs. No, the hospital has no right to believe anything. The law is quite explicit. This isn't a case of the beliefs. This is a case of the law. And you can hold these beliefs as an individual, and it would be quite wrong for any organisation, such as a hospital, to deny that care based on a person's beliefs. So the hospital is quite clearly wrong here, and I hope they get sued. The message added the hospital was committed to protecting staff from what it describes as unacceptable distress. However, it's quite happy to put that unacceptable distress onto patients. Emma urged them to reconsider, adding in a further message that she thought they had misunderstood her requests, which she said were entirely within the law. The hospital said it would offer a private room, but would not facilitate her requests for single-sex care after her operation. It also mentioned her comment about pronouns and said it had a responsibility to protect staff from discrimination and harassment. I find pronouns discriminating and harassing. Emma said, I'm still in a state of shock at this punitive and discriminatory reaction by the chief executive officer of this hospital, which specialises in women's procedures. I would not have predicted this in a million years. Everything that has happened is so off the wall and irrational that it makes me believe that I have been targeted by trans activists within the hospital. I guarantee you have, love. You absolutely have. As always, this is about appeasing men who claim to be women. They will punish anyone who tells the truth, and I will not be forced to use the language of gender ideology, and that is pronouns that don't apply to me. Women's safety, dignity and privacy continues to be sacrificed on the altar of this quasi-religion. I cannot believe this is happening in the UK. My God, love, you can, you must. We need to fight it. Women are being pushed down and down and down to facilitate these mentally ill men in their primacy over women, because they're ending up with more rights than the women. Here's a woman denied her legal right, according to the law, to be treated as a woman and given a single sex space. By the law says this, because some organisation said, oh, well, you know, we can't have Doris here feeling a bit upset because somebody thinks he's a man. Breaking news, with his testicles and penis and hairy arse. He's a man, aren't you, Doris? I'm not a man. He's a fucking man. Anyway, the decision by the hospital comes amid an ongoing debate over women's rights and the need for female-only spaces such as hospital wards. And there are also fears predatory SOs could pose as trans women to gain access to female loos and facilities. Fears? No, this is happening. We have covered this so many times where these things are actually happening. It is also after the Equality and Human Rights Commission said service providers wishing to limit services to a single sex are legally able to do so, provided the reasons are justified and proportionate. And for a woman who has previously been attacked like that, it is both justified and proportionate. The ruling means it is legal for a gym to limit communal changing rooms to a single sex, as long as a gender-neutral changing room is also provided for trans people. No. You just have men and women, and what you've got in your pants is what you've got, and that's it. Except for the post-op men, obviously, they can call themselves women. They can have their gashes, they can have their scars. They're still men in with the boys. Not that the boys want them. Anyway, rights campaigner Kelly J. Keane, God bless her, who founded Standing for Women, called the hospital stance misogyny in heels. She added, once we're in a society whereby women are compelled to pretend men can be women and everything must flow from such orthodoxy, there is no end to the consequences. Those are hardest to bear are around issues of safeguarding for women and children. Prioritising a man's feelings over women's health is just an example. In this case, particularly egregious of how powerful this ideology really is. It is staggering how fearful organisations are in doing what's right rather than what this movement in misogyny in heels demands. We hope this patient gets the treatment and an apology she needs. A spokesperson for HCA said, the Princess Grace Hospital, we always strive to deliver the highest standards of care. That's a lie, isn't it? And we value and respect each of our patients as individuals. Also a lie. For reasons of confidentiality, we cannot comment on individual patient complaints. Well, you will when you're in court, love. The hospital's policy is always to accommodate patient requests if possible. Take away the if possible, because if a woman wants to be in a safe space, an all-female safe space, she has that legal right. Some, such as a request for single-sex care, are particularly challenging. It's not challenging. You just simply say, no, women only. What's challenging about that? Or can you not bear to say that in case some mad, mentally ill man gets hurty fee-fees? Regrettably, in some circumstances, it may be necessary to cancel a procedure if there's insufficient time to discuss such a request ahead of the patient's admission. You should on no account cancel a medical procedure simply based because you don't like the patient's politics, especially when the law is on the patient's side. You are kowtowing to mental men and you are putting men's convenience ahead of women's health. Shame on you. You call yourself a hospital and you're putting men before illness. Man's rights before a woman's health is appalling. But it just drives me bonkers when you see things like this. We keep saying, oh no, these ridiculous men, they're so important, there's so few of them, but they're so important. Well, let me tell you, no they're not. Let's get up and round this video off. In any normal world where normal people are running it, and it's not run instead by lefty hand-wringing wankers, this sort of thing wouldn't happen. A woman, particularly given her history, coming into a hospital who requested all-female care would most assuredly get all-female care. It's not a big ask, you know, but these men who think that they have the right, the moment they decide that they'd like to be women, that they have the right to go into every woman-only space because they want to trample over the rights of women. They actually they're actually doing women a disservice. They are misogynistic. They are greedy. They want these rights. They want this, this, this. It's all me, me, me. No consideration for other people. They are mentally ill. They need help. They need psychiatric help. And they need to be kept away from women. We know for a fact, that attacks on women have happened by trans men, trans women, whatever you would call these buffoons. Men dressed as women, pretending to be women, have attacked other women. We know this to be fact. And that is why single sex spaces, not single gender spaces, single sex spaces, are so important. I don't want my mother, my wife, my sisters, my nieces ever to go in a place where they are likely to be in any kind of danger from men. And that's why it needs to be fought. And for a hospital to endanger women like this, it's contemptuous. But at least now it's highlighted and everyone knows who they are. Anyway, so round off there. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notification of future outputs. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay in your own lane, guys, and goodbye.